Wisconsin is going back to work.
I'm Steve Walders.
And I'm JR Ross.
This is Rewind, WisconsinEye summary of this week in the Capitol. JR, a lot of activity in the Capitol. The biggest thing that happened, though, the Assembly passed Governor's $500 million tax cuts, wouldn't you say?
Yes.
It was intriguing. Final passage, the Republicans picked up two Democrats, Amy Sue Vrewink and Stephen Smith. Let's just point out Amy Sue won by 144 votes, and Stephen Smith by 615 votes. Any significance to those two D votes?
Definitely the top two Republican targets for this fall. Stephen Smith won in a seat that leans Republican and benefited quite a bit 2 years ago now from having a very flawed opponent in Roger Rivard who said some girls rape easy. Remember that?
Yeah.
And tried to defend it.
Yeah, he said his father told him that, but go ahead,
yes.
You're right.
Amy Sue Vrewink, her district dead 50-50, dead even on the numbers. She's been a top target. They thought they had her gone twice last session, last 2 years, once through the election and then twice. They thought they had a job in the Walker administration. So she is a top target again. It helps them say, look, I'm not a lockstep Democrat. I fit the district, not my party. So good votes for them.
Next step on the tax cuts, hearing a potential joint finance committee meeting next week, do you think?
Yes.
Well, how's it going to sort out? Have you picked up how the Senate GOPers want to tweak it?
One, they need some patience. It's all about, at this point, structural deficit. Now, people keep pointing to Rob Coles as kind of like the biggest concerns right now. Not that he's alone. Others have expressed the same concern about the structural deficit. But it's a matter of getting Rob comfortable with what they're going to do and finding an avenue that makes everybody, okay, we found a way to address the structural deficit that makes us comfortable. And the governor said this week, again, I'm okay with taking the money for the rainy day fund and putting it for that structural deficit by bumping up the statutory balance, keeping a bigger reserve essentially. I'm okay with that. Give me my income tax cut, my property tax cut, and I'm okay with the rest of it.
I just think the Senate GOPers, they've got to tweak it, but it's going to pass soon. Hey, what about, I think the feud between Speaker Voss and Senate Majority Leader Fitzgerald kind of got ratcheted up last week. Do you agree? I mean, on Tuesday, Voss tells reporters, well, you really can't blame Fitzgerald because he can't get anything done. And then on Wednesday, this amazing letter Fitzgerald tells Voss's individual members, come and negotiate with me on your bills.
Well, it's not uncommon for leaders to get along, right? I mean, or not to get along. I mean, look, other than the Fitzgerald brothers, and they had their moments, they would tell you, Decker and Sheridan, they didn't get along at times. You know, one seems to be in the pocket of the governor, and one didn't like the governor at the time. I mean, so this is not unusual. And they often end up at the very end of the session not liking each other, or at least not talking. This, though, I've asked people, is this the worst you've seen it? And I get kind of mixed, thoughts about that. But yeah, it's kind of bad right now. And the dysfunction is showing up in bill after bill, where Voss has his big majority. He can just basically put his fist in the air and run through, charge. And you've got Fitzgerald kind of going, look, Dale Schultz is kind of an island of one at this point.
Yes.
I need every
vote. Not seeking re-election, yes.
That means all 17 that I have left.
And if Coles has heartburn, if
Ellis,
Frank
Olson,
Losay has heartburn.
You name the bill, each person is a free agent at this point where they can say, I need A, B, and C, and you have to deliver to make me happy.
That's very right. All 15 Senate Democrats, however, agree on one thing, and that is, and many of the Assembly Democrats, they want to repeal the 2006 constitutional ban on same-sex marriage. Voss said there'll be no public hearing. This is a political statement. But I'm struck, JR, do you agree that they have drawn a fairly good line between them and the GOP in this campaign season?
Yeah, but who does it motivate to turn out? I mean, I guess that's the question. I don't see a lot of risk right now for the Democrats because the polls are starting to show that a majority of Wisconsin voters support gay marriage.
53%.
So quite a swing
law
from
school poll.
59% that approved the amendment just, 8 years ago?
Yeah.
But what motivates people to go to the polls? Usually I've been taught it's pocketbook issues. How's my job? How's my kid's school? How am I doing at home? I mean, do I like the guy or gal in office? I mean, those kinds of things are more of a motivator than a gay marriage. So there is definitely a segment of the population who is inspired or by this issue, but is that what drives them to the polls? I don't know if that's really the issue they'll win on. I think it's more pocketbook stuff.
And one of the three Democratic candidates for Attorney General, Representative John Richards, said, I would not, if I'm elected Attorney General, I would not defend the constitutional same-sex ban.
Base issue. He's
base
got
issue.
a three-person primary right now, Ishmael Ozan and Susan Happ. it helps you
Jefferson
with the base.
County DA. State of the Tribe speech by Menominee Tribal Chair Lori Bovine. I was struck, she scolded lawmakers for passing the mascot bill, which makes it harder to change Native American high school nicknames, logos, and mascots. But that's a tribe that wants to build the $800 million Kenosha Casino. Do you agree that Walker's going to punt on that decision until after the election?
Administration Secretary Mike Hipsch was before an editorial board last week, I think it was, and they said, I don't see a way to get it done by November. They have the option, if I remember correctly, of a 6-month extension, so the decision's due like in August sometime, but they can go months beyond that. And it does seem like they're pushing that path. The governor wants a win-win. How do you get all 11 tribes on board? I'm not sure, because the Forest County, Pottawatomie, and Ho-Chunk are still not there.
The governor told us in October, I'm going to decide that by the end of that month. So he's already broken that promise.
Unusual for Walker, he almost always makes a deadline, he never waffles on issues. This is the one thing when I've talked to people about him, they've seen him waffle a little bit, blow through his own deadlines and not be able to be decisive on an issue.
And
part of it because he knows Kenosha and Racine, he needs them in November.
And also, it's a 50-50, the law school poll shows an exact split on that. Okay, time for WisPolitics. Stock picks, who's rising, who's mixed, who's falling, my friend?
For rising, you got to go assembly departures. I mean, we're starting to see that time of the year where people are starting to say, okay, I'm done letting people know they're going to retire. So we've got 3 Republicans retiring already in the assembly. We've got a number of Democrats running for other offices, Howard Markline in the assembly for the Senate. What's interesting, and this is also kind of scary for me, after this fall, there may be just a dozen members of the assembly who were there pre-2004. Now, I got here in 2000, so the idea of the assembly being newer than I am is, easier for you to accept, I think, than for me.
Yeah.
But anyway, the thing is, it's kind of troubling for some people that you lose this institutional knowledge of how the building has been, what it should do, and you're also seeing most of these folks are coming the 2010 Republican wave, the 2012 elections, which were post-Act 10. Yeah. So you're getting harder partisan edges. You got maps that are more and more safe seats. So it's contributing to this kind of budding we see all the time in the Capitol.
And who's mixed?
Mary Burke. She's been trying to define herself for Wisconsin voters, and she's been building that case. She talked about minimum wage last week. This week, how she would deal with the surplus. Now here comes the RGA with its ad buy to try to define her for her, or define her to voters for her.
Yes. Here's
the question, though. I'm sure you've been taught this too. If you're going to do an ad buy in Wisconsin anywhere, it can't be a short hit and walk away. You've got to keep a sustained message for the average voter who doesn't pay attention to really have it sink in. So is this the beginning of the ad war where RGA and other groups will be here from now until November? Because if not, it may be a hit and then kind of a slow fade on that burn.
And then falling?
School accountability.
Oh, I couldn't agree more with you. The school accountability bill in both houses is stumbling. Speaker Voss yesterday said the Senate committee bill is a half step that pretty much isn't worth passing. Excuse me.
And look at what the Senate, even the Democrats in the Senate committee said, well, if you're just going to have reporting, is it really accountability? The problem is with the Assembly bill, it's even got problems in its own caucus, number one. What's fascinating is the governor saying, I just want, I want something better, something is better than nothing. Give me something, essentially.
Yes, put something on my desk.
What he won't do is say, this is the bill I want. And I've talked to a few people who want accountability, and they say, well, if he stepped in, it would help a great deal. We need some markers of what he wants. The flip side of that argument is the two houses are sort of dysfunctional right now. If Walker backed a bill from a house, the other house would say, well, the heck with it. I'm not doing that bill because that, it would alienate the governor with those people because he's picking sides. It's a lose-lose situation for him.
Okay, almost out of time, JR. Real quickly, next week, 27,000 emails of former Milwaukee County Executive Aide Kelly Reinflish will be released. Who should be worried?
It's not going to be good for Walker most likely, but here's the question. Is it just embarrassing stuff we know about already, or is it really a smoking gun? If there was a smoking gun, you would think he would have been charged already, right? So it's probably just going to be Democrats inflaming, what's there, and conservatives saying, this is all they got after all those millions of dollars or whatever and thousands of emails. It's a fishing expedition. Okay,
so we know how a few Capitol reporters are going to be spending many hours next week. Many hours next week. As always, clips of the State of the Tribe speech and the press conference by Democrats who want to repeal the ban on same-sex marriage can be found on WisconsinEye. I'm Steve Walders.
And I'm JR Ross.